I love it. I love it. I love it. Look at this. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
What's up, homies? Leighton here for UFC Gambling Addicts, back again for another UFC full card breakdown and predictions video. This one's going to be Curtis Blaydes taking on Derek Lewis. There's 15 matchups on this card. 15, guys. As always, before we get into the breakdowns, all of that good stuff, if you're not subscribed, make sure you do that. If you haven't Hamzat, smash the like button. Or Kamaru Usman jabbed the like button. Make sure you do that. Or even Anthony Hernandez style, right? Do that to the like button. Now, I did make a promise on my last breakdown. If there was anyone out there, right? Titanic style, if there's anyone out there taking Anthony Hernandez, drop the comment and I'm going to shout you out if it comes in. Here it is. We had some people within the community taking Anthony Hernandez, man. Game changer 9-7. I'm taking Hernandez because it's MMA. Same as I commented, I took Dobson on even bigger odds. This huge odds in UFC will never make sense. I'm taking Hernandez. 514 Demon. Yeah, I'm that crazy guy putting money on Fluffy. Vieira looked really nervous and gentle and friendly, while Anthony Hernandez looked like he came ready to fight. Maybe it means nothing, maybe it means something, but I'm not feeling Vieira. Wow, look at this. Def Texas MMA. Going with Hernandez, he has 85% takedown defense. Vieira, 1.5 rounds to get it done. He gasses out after. Oh man. Wow. Look at that. But he did finish this comment with Hernandez via third round KO or decision is the play. So even though he nailed this fight, Def Texas, you're still surprised, right? Even though you nailed it, you never saw a submission. Who else see it? I can't believe it. But there was people within the community that took Anthony Hernandez. Crazy. It's crazy. All right, let's get into breaking these ones down. And real quick before we get into it, guys, you may notice that I'm going to use a different style of prediction for this breakdown. It's going to be a little bit quick fire throughout this card. The main reason for that is because my nose is completely blocked. So I'm going to try and do it a bit quicker for this one. Now, next week, there's a 99% chance that I'm going to be back to doing it my normal way, taking my time a little bit more with the matchups. But if for some reason everyone prefers this way, I will continue to do it this way. But, you know, there's a 99% chance that you guys prefer the normal way, right? So, number one, the reason why I'm doing it this way is because my nose is completely blocked. And, you know, if this way isn't completely loved, it's cool. Because next week I'm going to be back to doing it my usual way. But let me know in the comment section, you know, was there anyone that enjoyed quick fire? All right, let's get into it. Sergey Spivak taking on Jared Vandera. So Sergey Spivak, he's had a nice little run of form recently. Coming off that nice boxing performance against Carlos Felipe. Yep, that's the one. Beautiful. Used the jab nice and long. Was able to show his boxing technique. Jared Vandera coming in, making his debut. His Contender Series fight didn't go too great. He was getting pieced up a little bit on the feet before he got that takedown. And that's really helped me decide on this matchup. Has Vandera got the punching power to TKO Spivak? Yes, he has. But Spivak has shown me good distance recently. So because of that, I'm going to take Spivak via decision. The odds for this matchup, we've got Spivak over -200. Jared Vandera plus 200. It's hard to argue with it. Spivak just looks cleaner. He looks like a better puncher, a better boxer. Like I said, Vandera has got the punching power though. If he clips the chin, it is enough. But yeah, Spivak for me on this one, guys. Zahabi taking on Draco Rodriguez. Now, this fight was supposed to take place a couple months ago. It's been rescheduled for now. Zahabi, time off. You know, he's had a lot of time off. He didn't look too promising, in all honesty, when he was around. Yes, he's coming from the TriStar gym. It's a really good camp. So, with the time off, maybe you'd assume he has become a better fighter. Draco Rodriguez. This guy also on the Contender Series, just like Jared Vandera. His performance way cleaner though. When he hit the mat, his BJJ looked pretty clean. This is a good matchup considering both guys have 7 pro wins. So that's going to be fun to see. But for me, Draco Rodriguez, man. This guy looked clean on the Contender Series. Seems a little bit more deserving of being in the UFC than Zahabi. But the flip side, like I said, Zahabi does come from a good camp. Maybe got better with that time off. For me, I'm going to take Draco Rodriguez via decision. I wouldn't play this one though. I'm not too sure about playing it. Because I think betting wise, if you're playing it, it seems more like you're picking against Zahabi than for Draco Rodriguez, right? The odds on this matchup, Draco minus 170, Zahabi plus 150, plus 160. So Draco, he's getting close to a 2-1 favourite, but he's not quite there. And he's not quite there because this is a close matchup still. Both guys only had 7 pro wins. They're green. They are green in their career. For me, I'm going to take Draco. I'm definitely not going to play it though. Skelley taking on Emmers. And we're going to start with Skelley. So Skelley's this wrestler type guy. He wants to take you down. He wants to take your back and squeeze your neck, right? Skelley is all about that wrestling, BJJ, scrambling, let's just keep grappling type life. His striking on the feet isn't too great. You know, he's swinging those bombs and it's kind of scrappy. He isn't a boxer. The technique in the boxing, you can tell he's not about that life. He wants to take you down, wrestle you, fatigue you, and submit you. Emmers, this guy's pretty decent. Not so much in his debut, but that's against Giga Chikadze. We'll let him off. Most recently, it looked better. His punching power, really decent. The output, you know, he nearly finished his opponent in that fight. Hit him with many big punches. For me, I think Emmers is a little bit more well-rounded than Skelley. Good wrestling, potentially keeps it standing. If he does, I think his boxing's better than Skelley. So purely for those reasons, I'm going to take Emmers via, let's go decision. Emmers, man, minus 220, minus 240. You know, starting to get deep on that line. I'd put him at about minus 200. I wouldn't go up to like minus 3. You know, that's starting to get crazy. Skelley, plus 200. We know what he wants to do, man. He wants to take you down, squeeze your neck. Can he do it to Emmers? I'm going to say no, but I'm sure there is going to be people in the community looking at that plus 200. Shana Dobson taking on Casey O'Neill. We're going to start with Shana. So Shana got that huge upset win against Agapova. Massive, massive plus money. Prior to that win, it didn't look too great. And that's mainly the reason she was a huge underdog in that match. We do have to give her credit though. You know, she weathered the storm. Got it done later on in round number 2. The opponent, Casey O'Neill. Quite green in MMA, just like her opponent Shana Dobson. She's coming into this one making her debut. Seems to be a pretty good grappler on the mat. Her Muay Thai striking, pretty okay too. I've seen the clips of her training at Tiger Muay Thai, so it's nice to see that she has got that striking too. I'm strangely confident on Casey O'Neill, despite Shana Dobson pulling off that massive upset win. I am going to take Casey O'Neill. I just think she's more well-rounded. Her ground game does stick out as an area that she could take this fight. So purely for those reasons, I'm going to take Casey O'Neill via submission in round number 2. Which would be quite, coincidental considering Dobson got it done in round 2. And then Casey O'Neill would do the same thing. That would be pretty crazy. Casey O'Neill minus 150. Dobson getting the respect. She is an underdog, but not a massive one. Plus 130. Yeah, I agree with that line, man. I think Casey O'Neill does deserve to be the favourite. Seems more well-rounded. Dobson, underdog, not so much. Rafael Alves taking on Pat Sabatini. This one seems to be grappling, right? Alves, on the Contender Series, he used that stalk mode against his opponent. Stalked him down on the feet. Really powerful striking. Looked happy to strike. Looked confident striking. But the fight did end with BJJ. Really beautiful guillotine choke from Rafael Alves. This guy is a jiu-jitsu practitioner. His opponent, Pat Sabatini, this guy also seems to be about that grappling life. He wants to take you down. He wants to choke you out. This one's going to come down to grappling, guys. Now, if both guys were made to strike and keep it kickboxing, I'd probably favour Alves. It looked powerful. It did look powerful on the Contender Series. I think Alves is also the better BJJ player, so I am going to take him to win via submission. But one thing I do want to mention, if this fight goes late, like getting towards the end of round number 2, and Pat Sabatini looks like he's getting the better of the wrestling, and let's say, for example, Alves, his shoulders are flat on the mat when he's in guard. He's not going for submission attempts. It could be a good time to play Pat Sabatini in play, If it turns into a cardio battle, is what I'm saying. Rodolfo Vieira, a lot of muscle. Alves, a lot of muscle. So if you do have in play as an option, maybe, make a note that this one could be a potential in play on Sabatini at plus money if it gets to the point where you can see Alves slowing down. But prior to the fight, I think Alves better striking, better BJJ. I would like to see him finish it, in that first 7 or 8 minutes. Alves just under minus 200, Pat Sabatini plus 160, plus 155. I agree with those numbers. I think, the reason why Alves isn't going deeper than minus 180 is potentially because of the cardio battle later on in this fight, if it gets there. So Pat may go up to plus 200, plus 250 after round 1. But then if you watch closely, if it does get to that, you could get Pat Sabatini at good money, and by the end of round 2, it could be a pick'em, right? This one is dangerous to bet on. If you have in play, I would go with that. Julian Erosa taking on Nate Landwehr. Guys, who knows? Who even knows with this one? And when I say that, I'm not confident on either side. Julian Erosa does have the reach. He does have the size. But he doesn't really use it too well. But man, he really just could in this one. He could. Nate Landwehr is a guy who, he loves to walk forward. He loves to be in a dogfight. He isn't afraid of getting hit. And he knows he's going to hit you too. Man, it's such a tough one. Because I think Julian Erosa is maybe better with his technique. Maybe is more technical as a fighter. But Nate Landwehr, man, like I said, he's a dog. So, seeing how this one's going to play out, I'm really excited to see that. As for betting on it, no way, Nate, he's a dog. Julian Erosa, more technical, but hasn't really mastered that, I'm going to keep the distance. I know where I'm safe. I know where you are at all times. He's not a master of range like an Adesanya. And that's what's difficult. I can see Nate landing bombs, but then I can see Julian being more technical and getting out of the way of those bombs and picking his shots. So, man, I'm going to take Nate Landwehr. I'm going to take him. I'm really not confident though. This one it's a pick'em. And they're both minus 110, it's spot on. Who knows? Who knows on this one? If you have a real confident read, drop the comment. You know, tell me why you're really confident on this matchup. Eddie Wineland taking on John Castaneda. So let's start with Eddie. Eddie is a guy we all appreciate. You know, he's a veteran. He's been in the sport a long time. He's got to be close to 40 pro fights by now. We know he has good boxing power. The hands are good. But he's getting older, man. He's getting quite a bit older. And it's starting to show a little bit. Sean O'Malley was able to finish him. But the way he finished him, you know, it's a nasty knockout. It's a real bad one. And, you know, he's about 36, 37 years old. You don't really want to see that at bantamweight. But we do know he has the experience. He does have the experience in this matchup. John Castaneda debuted against Nathaniel Wood. Was pretty much outclassed in that matchup. I remember speaking about Castaneda coming into the matchup with some wrestling prior to the debut. We didn't really get to see that against Nathaniel Wood. But what I did notice, this guy kept walking forward. Nathaniel Wood was outclassing him with the low kicks, the boxing. Everything Nathaniel wanted to do, he did. But Castaneda never shied away from that fight. It was his debut and he looked like he wanted to be there. Outclassed every minute of the fight, but kept walking forward. Same kind of vibe with Gabe Green from last week. I know Eddie Wineland has the boxing advantage, maybe, but I'm going to take John Castaneda. I think this guy showed a lot of heart in the debut, and if he shows that here against the veteran who's coming towards the back end of his career, I think it could go well. So I'm actually going to take Castaneda via TKO in round number 2. Really good matchup though, because I think it shows, you know, is Eddie Wineland still cut out for the highest level? This fight is going to show it. Eddie plus 100, John Castaneda minus 120. So yeah, those odds, man, I love them. Slight favourite on Castaneda, rightfully so. But Eddie getting so much respect. He's such a veteran. Can he prove it in this one? This is a fire prelim fight. Klose taking on Luis Pena. Now this is a really good matchup. Let's start with Draka. So Draka, really good low kicker, really good wrestler. He's coming off that loss to Beneil Dariush where that fight got crazy. You know, he survived the choke in the first round. Later went on to hurt Beneil, but got too crazy, got clipped himself, and didn't handle adversity as well as Beneil. Luis Pena is a guy who has good potential, good wrestling, good BJJ, super long on the feet. You know, his striking, you can see the technique, you can see the skill set, but Luis Pena seems to struggle when he's in close matchups. He doesn't really separate himself with his skill, you know. Having a bit of trouble with adversity is Luis Pena. Really good matchup. I'm going to take Luis Pena, man. I've never picked against this fighter. I have faith, man. I think this guy can evolve into a really, really good fighter. But we have to see it here. You know, he has to take advantage of the striking. The low kick that Draka has could be a problem. So Luis Pena has to do something there. You know, he can't get low kicked and his movement compromised. I'm going to take Pena to be the better striker and to maybe keep it on the feet with his own takedown defense. Really good matchup though. Pena is the underdog plus 150. It's fair, you know, he has struggled with adversity. The potential's there though, man. The potential is there. Draka Klose on minus 170. Maybe, you know, Pena could get off to a strong start. So if you're taking Klose before the fight, maybe after round 1 if you have an in play. But I'm going to take Luis Pena, man. Jared Gordon taking on Danny Chavez. And we're going to start with Jared. So Jared comes into this matchup with some decent experience in the UFC at this point. This guy is primarily a wrestler. The cardio has always been a highlight of Jared Gordon's game. This guy can go a strong 15 minutes, put in a nice wrestling performance. The chin has been clipped a few times. It's not that he's a bad striker, it's just, You know, he's always been decent at wrestling. If he can take you down and have a clear advantage in the wrestling, that's always the place that Jared Gordon is going to win. Danny Chavez, on the other hand, had a good UFC debut. This guy seems to be a decent kicker. The striking looks pretty okay. The debut went beautifully. Now, this is the smaller octagon, so Jared Gordon may have success with the takedowns, but something's pulling me to Danny Chavez, man. I think this guy could potentially keep it on the feet. Maybe after round 1, maybe towards the end of round 2. I think if Danny Chavez is going to win, it's going to be the striking. If Jared Gordon's going to win, I think it's going to be the wrestling. I'm going with Danny Chavez, man. Not much logic to it because Jared Gordon has good experience, right? He's been in the UFC. We know this guy can wrestle. So to put much faith into it, to bet on it, I wouldn't really do that. But I am going to take Danny Chavez to potentially get a TKO late in this fight. Now the odds on this one, we've got Danny minus 130, Jared Gordon plus 110, plus 120. Yeah, these odds are close for a reason. Jared Gordon has that wrestling. He could take down Danny Chavez and make it that type of game plan, you know? Make it that type of fight where it's just takedown, smothering. But if Danny Chavez on the flip side can keep it striking, I'd definitely favour him. So yeah, it's a difficult one. Alright homies, you know what time it is. If you waited to smoke with me, amen. If you've been smoking this whole time, amen. If you're not a smoker but you enjoy the smoke breaks, triple amen. Alright homies, Instagram on screen. If you've got Insta, hit that up. And I just want to mention, man, some of the messages that I get in the comment section and on Instagram regarding the smoke breaks, it's beautiful, man. It's beautiful. I've posted a few of those messages recently. And, you know, it's just going to be something that I can look back on, you know, in, say, 50 years' time, right? When I'm 75 years old, in my old age, yeah. I'm going to look back, man. I'm going to look back and see, like, man, I remember those days. You know, it's in front of my eyes, right? Even if my brain deteriorates, right? It's going to be something that I look back on, man, and think, yeah, I had a good influence, man, on some great people, right? So, yeah, amen to the messages that I get in the comment section and on Instagram. Now, I was thinking of doing 2 things for the smoke break this week. A bro hit me up on Instagram, so we're going to address that first. The message reads, and by the way, to the bro that hit me up, thank you for messaging me, man. You reached out to me, you have a question. It's quite it's a different vibe. This is a complex one to try to address, but I actually saw a video like 2 hours after this message, and literally when I was watching the video, it just hit me. It hit me straight away, like this video really connects with the message that I got sent, right? So the message reads, love your smoke breaks and your motivational talks. I'm a virtual teacher and I never had a good answer to motivate kids who have anxiety. They make a block and don't do the work. I tell them do one thing at a time and the mountain won't be so big. I would love to hear your insight if you have any. These kids get in their own heads. So yeah, man, this is a message, right? How can we help these kids who have anxiety, who get in their own heads, right? Now, I was thinking, man, how do you even address that? How can we really make a difference there? And then I saw this video, and it was Elon Musk, and he said, you know, I don't know if I can play the video because of copyright and all of that, but the video was basically, Elon Musk was saying the best teachers are the ones that explain why this is good to learn, right? The teacher explains this is why we're learning this today, you know, and straight away, I thought, you know what? How many great teachers have we had in our life, right? How many great teachers do you remember that really, you know, this person really taught me something? How many? It's not many, right? So I think the best advice to the bro coming with this message would be really try to explain to them why this is good to learn this. Because I remember being in school and it's like, why am I learning this? What? This is... Why? Why today have I got to learn this? Now, you know you're in school. You know you've got to go to school and learn. But I think the best teachers in life are the ones that really make you understand why it's important to learn this. So that would be my message to you, bro. Obviously, you know, you're a teacher, so you've gone down that path in life, and I'm sure you're a great teacher, bro. And the fact that you're trying to become better at teaching, you know, it's brilliant, you know. So that would be the advice that I give you. Try to help them understand why it's important to learn what we're learning. You know, because thinking back personally, you know, the teachers that really, the one or two, right, that I remember really taught me why it was important or really made a difference in that particular day, right? So try to stand out as a teacher like that. Try to help them. And like I said, man, I'm sure you're a great teacher, bro. Now, the other thing I wanted to speak about with the smoke break, guys, okay, I know it sounds crazy to some of you. It may sound crazy, right? I know it's going to sound a little bit crazy to some of you, but the simulation, yeah, the simulation, right? It's so possible. It really is 50-50. It is. All right, even the ones right now who are thinking, bro, we are not in a simulation. Listen, I know you've got the fireweed. I've got the fireweed too. I've gone over it in my head. We're not in the simulation. Bro, I'm telling you, it's 50-50, right? Elon Musk, again, with Elon Musk, he's basically saying that if you fast forward 100 years, fast forward 200, 300, 500 years, right, from now. Technology in the last 40 years, 50 years has come so far, right? If you look at games like gaming 50 years ago and you look at gaming today, the difference in technology is insane, right? It is. Now imagine 500 years from now. What if, right, hear me out. What if us as humans are able to create an AI simulation of the same world we have here, but give that simulation free will? So the characters inside the simulation have the option to do what they want. They don't know they're a part of the simulation because they have free will. Now, if we could do that as humans, chances are that's happened to us. Right? So, listen, I know it's crazy, the simulation thing, but I want to see some comments. I want to see the comments again. Are we in a simulation? If so, why? If we're not in a simulation, I want to know why. And again, it is a little bit crazy. It's a little bit crazy, but it's 50-50 in my opinion. You know, technology's come so far that if in 400, 500 years time we can create that simulation ourselves, then that's, you know, that's scary. So I get what Elon Musk means by AI is, you know, it's dangerous. You know, because it might uncover some weird truth that we could also be an AI. So yeah. I also see a comment on YouTube. When I was watching these simulation videos, I see a comment on YouTube and some guy said, in some alien world, we're in a jar on the top shelf as a project. Bro, that... Alright, let's get into the main card. Nassourdine Imavov taking on Phil Hawes. We've already broke this one down, but I'm going to break it down again. Nassourdine debuted, looked pretty okay. You know, the boxing, the distance jab, like a mini version of Ghana, you know, that Muay Thai, the movement, it looked pretty good for Nassourdine. Also mixed it in with his grappling too, which gave him a clear advantage in that matchup. The opponent, Phil Hawes, this guy had a nasty debut win, pretty perfect, got in there, got real aggressive, got it done, you know, in devastating fashion. Now this one is a difficult one to predict because Hawes has that knockout power. He can knock out Nassourdine. But I think if this fight goes longer, you know, than halfway into round 2, I think Nassourdine could potentially be the better grappler because of the cardio. And, you know, that movement on the outside is pretty good too. So I'm going to take Nassourdine via decision. And that was my initial pick too. The odds, Nassourdine plus 100, Phil Hawes minus 120. Can't argue too much. I would maybe put Nassourdine a slight favourite, but there is minus 110 on one bookie as well. So complete pick-em odds, and rightfully so. Oleinik taking on Chris Daukaus. Now, Oleinik, man, we know what this guy is about. He knows what he's about. It's that grappling life. If he can take you down, chances are you're in a bad situation. Maybe one of the most underrated jiu-jitsu players in MMA. This guy has a lot of submission wins throughout his whole career. You know, really a dangerous guy when it hits the mat. As for his striking, it's not too great. He will throw punches. He has started to look more mean with his punches in his last few fights, but he knows, you know, we know as well exactly where Oleinik is most dangerous, and that's on the mat. Chris Daukaus is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but still, you know, if you go to the mat with Oleinik, it's just not a good thing, you know, it's not a great thing to do. Chris Daukaus should stay on the feet, should look to box. If he can box with Oleinik, I see it going pretty well for him. So it's one or the other. I'm going to take Chris Daukaus. I've gone against this guy before. And his movement, you know, the speed of his movement and boxing seems to be going against me. And I'm not going to let that happen here. But if Alexei, you know, if he can take him down, maybe he can win the fight too. For me though, I'm going to take Chris Daukaus via TKO in round number 1. Chris Daukaus just under minus 200. Oleinik coming back plus 160, plus 170. So yeah, those odds are a little bit surprising, but at the same time, you can see why. Chris Daukaus is using that boxing. He's not a big heavyweight, but he's using that speed. You know, he's not as big as these guys, but he's using it to his advantage. He's being quicker. He's not getting hit. In this one, he has to avoid being taken down. Pena taking on Rosa. This is a pretty good matchup. We're going to start with Derek. So Derek was able to pull off a big upset win in his last fight against TJ Laramie. Now, Derek didn't initiate the grappling like he normally does. Normally, this guy takes you down, looks to submit you in that first round. If he can't submit you in the first round, he seems to gas out. That first round is his most dangerous. But if you look at his last fight, it looked like Pena was going to trade hands with TJ Laramie until TJ took him down. Rosa, on the other hand, this guy has great BJJ, black belt level, really high level BJJ. He likes to use a karate style on the feet too, likes to use his kicks, and if it goes to the mat, like I said, that jiu-jitsu really, really high level. Now, if Pena chooses the same strategy as TJ Laramie, where he pushes Rosa up against the fence, looks to take him down, Pena could find himself in a similar situation that TJ Laramie found himself in. You know, Rosa, he's going to go for the neck. He's going to go for any submission available to him. On the feet, it's difficult to predict this one. I think Rosa is more technique. Pena may look to make it ugly. I'm going to side with Pena. I took him against TJ Laramie as a big underdog. And I think if he comes with the same game plan of keeping it on the feet, making it ugly, he could pull it off. So I'm going to take Darek Minner via decision, but I really wouldn't be surprised if Charles Rosa subbed him. Now the odds for this one, we've got Darek Minner plus 150, plus 160. So an underdog like in his last one, but not as much. You know, same as Dobson, not as much. Andre Arlovski taking on Tom Aspinall. And this is actually the opener of the main card, but I got them mixed up. So yeah, Andre Arlovski. We know this guy's a veteran. This guy's a legend. He's been around for a very, very long time. Former champion. Isn't a champion anymore. Rightfully so. You know, the sport does evolve. And Andre Arlovski seems to evolve with the sport. You know, he is very old, but look at his performance against Tanner Boza. You know, he looked okay in there. He's been around for a very long time. Maybe shouldn't be fighting anymore, but he's still winning, you know. The opponent, Tom Aspinall, this guy's just starting out, on the other hand, you know. Both of these guys are at very different ends of their career, and Tom Aspinall looks hungry. This guy trains with Darren Till, big punching power, good boxer. He's a bit of a Muay Thai guy himself, you know. Basically the bigger version of Darren Till, added with some ground game. You know, he doesn't mind taking you down. Ultimately, I see the fresher fighter winning this fight. I think Tom Aspinall would be more than happy to trade hands with Andre Arlovski. Arlovski is a veteran. We know he has it in him to knock out anyone if he lands that punch, but I think it's quite more likely that Tom Aspinall lands that punch instead of Andre Arlovski. Andre Arlovski looked pretty good against Sakai, fighting on the back foot, but didn't really get rewarded for it. You know, that decision went against him. If he's in the smaller octagon with Tom Aspinall and he's fighting on the back foot, even if it looks okay, I think it could go against him as well. So, you know, even if it goes to distance and this fight doesn't finish, I think Tom Aspinall more than likely to get a decision win. Co-main event, we've got Yana Kuniskaya taking on Ketlen Vieira. And we're going to start with the Brazilian. So, Ketlen, primarily a grappler, really decent BJJ, good size for the weight class too. Her punching power, pretty decent too, you know, she's a good striker. She was put out by Irene Aldana, but, you know, that's a Mexican fighter that has brilliant boxing. So no shame in that loss. She hasn't really had any bad moments on the feet other than getting starched the way she did. So yeah, I would still say Ketlen Vieira is a decent striker. The opponent, Yana, has big size too. You know, this is a big girl who has fought at 145. Not really sure where she's best though. In a striking battle, she does seem to take some damage. Yana seems to be best when she's grappling. If she can put you up against the fence or use her size on the mat, that's usually where she wins. But even then, you know, this girl can be outmuscled by the right opponent. And Ketlen Vieira is a really strong grappler too. I'm just seeing Ketlen as a more well-rounded fighter. So for those reasons, I'm going to take Ketlen via decision. And the odds, man, we've got Ketlen nearly minus 300. We've got her at minus 270, minus 280. It's clear to see why. You know, this girl is very well-rounded. Only had one bad moment so far in the UFC. And granted, you know, it was a really bad moment. She got completely deaded, sent to a new realm. But I'm not sure Yana has that in her skill set. You know, I think if Yana wins, she's going to prove again she's a very strong girl. But I think Ketlen also a very strong grappler. Alright, my homies, main event. We've got Curtis Blaydes taking on Derek Lewis. And we're going to start with Curtis. If you don't know much about Curtis Blaydes, this guy is a really, really good wrestler. Super good wrestler. If we're not speaking about Daniel Cormier in past years being the best wrestler at heavyweight, without a doubt, it's Curtis Blaydes. He will take you down over and over and over. If he doesn't have to take you down, it's because his positional control is so good that you can't move. he will smash you with elbows as well, you know. To beat Curtis Blaydes, you've got to clip him. He has been beat. Francis Ngannou was able to do it twice. And Derek Lewis, you know, kind of cut from the same cloth as Francis Ngannou. Derek Lewis likes to send you to another realm. That's what this guy is good at doing. Now, his takedown defense isn't great. We did get to see Daniel Cormier take on Derek Lewis. And Daniel Cormier was able to do it, man. He was able to use the takedowns and eventually finish that fight. I think Curtis Blaydes is going to do the same thing. I think he will be able to take down Derek Lewis. Whether it's ground and pound or a submission, I do think Curtis Blaydes will most likely finish the fight at some point. And if it isn't Curtis Blaydes doing it, Derek Lewis did it, man. He clipped him. For me, though, I'm going to go with the wrestler. I think Curtis Blaydes is able to implement his game plan, which is wrestling. You know, if he stands and trades the way he did against JDS, you know, he could get clipped. He really could. Mark Hunt did it as well. Right? So if you're Curtis Blaydes, you've got to wrestle, in my opinion. And if he does, he's going to finish it on the mat at some point. The odds on Curtis Blaydes, -400. It's hard to argue against it. If you're taking Derek Lewis, you may as well just take a TKO prop. Alright, homies, be sure to leave your comments for your underdogs, trebles, parlays, props, all of that good stuff. I'm excited for these matchups. I know you guys are too. We're going to enjoy these fights. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And until next time, homies, peace.